So, this video features me as close to rock bottom as possible. I've had a scourge of depression that's just gotten worse and worse. Um, I've always been powerless my whole life. Uh, well, that's not true, actually. When I was in elementary school, I was kind of a brute. I was larger than most of the kids. That was like second grade. And then I moved to Southern California. And that was where everything just went straight to hell. Um, I don't know. Somehow I just started gaining weight. I had a issue that is pretty common as far as defects are concerned. But I'm not even going to mention it because it's so embarrassing. But you could probably guess. Um, and I don't know if that's why I got heavy or if I would have got heavy anyway. But it kind of, getting heavy ruined everything. You get getting heavy in my defect. You get, as I've mentioned before, you get teased a lot in school. I wasn't physically that gifted. I wasn't very strong. I wasn't good at any sports really. I played, I think I don't know. I might have been good at football if I decided to stick with that, but they had actually asked me to be on the varsity team in high school, but I had summer school that year and didn't want to have to get up at 5 in the morning to be on the football team. I don't know how much that would have changed things for me anyway, because I don't know, maybe it would have made a difference. I mean, I would have been on the offensive line, so I wouldn't exactly have been the most popular kid on the football team, but it probably would have made me a lot of friends that I didn't have. But I was so beaten down in junior high school that I came to the conclusion, I guess subconsciously to some extent, that people are mean, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want anyone else to make fun of me. Girls didn't have a lot of interest in me for the most part. There was a girl in high school that I think was trying to hit on me, and I wasn't that attracted to her, so I kind of avoided her. And that was about the only girl in high school that ever paid any attention to me. And I pretty much made myself unavailable to people because I was just so hurt by all the ill treatment I got from bullies and just people who were mean. And also just being, it's not even so much the bullies, it's all the pretty girls just ignore you. They wouldn't say two words to you because you're fat. You're fat. And at that point, I was ugly. I'm not totally ugly now, but I'm getting back to being ugly. I lost weight, and that was the real bummer, was that after losing weight, I still didn't look good because I still had all the extra skin left over. And even that gets made fun of. You get made fun of for having extra skin, like Austin Powers, and he does the fat bastard who loses the skin. And then that becomes a big joke, that you have extra skin. So now we're a joke when we were joke when we're heavy and we try to do something about it, or a joke after we're heavy. And I had surgery, but I couldn't get rid of all the skin. It would have been way too expensive, and so I just knew I'd never look good naked. And I guess being powerless my whole life, I always wanted to think that I was going to find the perfect woman that would make up for the fact, I thought maybe it was written in the stars that things didn't work out for me. I don't know. I guess when you're younger, you have this idea like things are going to work out somehow. Your story is going to turn itself around, and eventually there'll be some kind of a happy ending. I don't know. I don't know why people get that idea when they're young. I guess they always just feel like maybe they have time for things to change. And I had opportunities with girls that I found attractive, but every time it came down to an opportunity, I felt like it wouldn't be fair for me to proceed to the next part, or proceed to getting naked, because it would just be a disappointment, because I don't look good naked, and I never have. And they say, some people say, well, girls don't care about that. Well, maybe girls don't care about it, but I'm sure they care a little bit. And you know, I guess I don't know. I've always, I've been powerless for so long. I always wanted a girl that was kind of out of my league, so that other guys would be jealous. And that would give you a little bit of power for once. Just have the power of being with a girl that other guys want to be with. And it's a shallow reason to want a girlfriend, but when you have no ego, when your ego has been beaten out of you by mean people for so long, you feel like the universe owes you something. And people hate it when people get entitled, but maybe that's why I was entitled, because I felt like and one of my difficulties, socially, and as far as self-confidence wise, are a major killer for anybody who has the problems that I had. But they're not problems like people, and I'm not starving. I mean, I've always been somewhat comfortable. I mean, I'm not rich. My family's not rich. I may end up homeless just because I hardly see the point in doing any kind of work. It all just seems like it supports something I don't really believe in. But that's going off into another topic I've already talked about before. So yeah, I had chances with girls, but I never tried to take it to the next step, because I felt like I was being a fraud. Like they felt like it's ridiculous. I want girls that are out of my league, and I'm not willing to make compromises for girls that aren't as pretty. And maybe it's not even so much that they aren't as pretty, but I'd even take a girl who was like a 7, solid 7. If I got to know her, maybe even a 6. I might even sleep with a 6 who I really liked on a personal level. But I'm around so few women on a regular basis, and all the work I've ever done, that I haven't had a chance to get to know any girl well enough to have it progress to anything. And those girls I have gotten to know generally tend to either be, you know, have long-term relationships, be involved in long-term relationships, or married or whatever. And I've just never, I guess I've never been lucky enough to find myself in a situation where I had a chance to get to know a girl, and that's what really hurts my chances. Also, it's not just that I want a beautiful girl, but I want a beautiful girl that I can have a chance to get to know. And most, even if most beautiful girls are pretty generally more promiscuous. Better looking people are generally more promiscuous. So even if I was successful in sleeping with one of these beautiful girls and they did want to continue the relationship, chances are it wouldn't last that long, because beautiful people move on. And that's the other reason why I never did it, was because I always felt like I wouldn't be able to handle the heartbreak. And I probably would have been able to handle it better when I was in my 20s, but now I'm 35 and still have had no success with women. And it really just is. It's kind of it's a major drag that kind of hangs over. Everyone talks about how great having sex is, and how you connect with someone on another level, and I guess I always hoped that I would become good enough as a musician that I'd at least get to try out a groupie or two. Although, like I said, I didn't even really want a groupie. I guess I was kind of looking for a long-term groupie, somebody who was going to be a monogamous groupie, which is a silly idea. I think it's just that the way the world works and the way relationships works and what women are attracted to does not play to my strengths. And the way women operate does not work well for me. I wish that that women that I found attractive were more chaste, I guess. That they actually wanted to get to know a guy before they slept with them. That they, wanted to connect with them on a personal level before they slept with them. I mean, that they would stay with you, just because you're, a someone who they do connect with, rather than stay with you because, they feel like they love you more than you love them. This whole power struggle, and it's just, dealing with all these stupid little love games and drama and all this stuff. Like it just makes it so difficult to, for guys like me who are, not super aggressive, not boastful, bragging alpha male types, guys who just kind of, average, and don't have a lot of ambition, I guess I wanted to be a musician pretty much just so that I could, have a way to, get in touch with more women, I suppose, have a chance to get to know them better. But I never got to be a very good musician. I don't know if it's not having sex or never achieving my musicianship goals that is bringing me down more. I get the feeling it's probably more the sex, but, a lot of people have a lot of meaningless sex, and I never really wanted meaningless sex, I guess. But, so yeah, at 35, like I just went to a miniature music festival in the area, well, a little ways from here, this weekend, and everybody else is having a good time, and the weather was perfect, and the music was good. I enjoyed it, but I felt the way there's a song in Red, the Red album by King Crimson, called Starless. And that's how I feel all the time. I feel like that song sounds, just totally, the world is a beautiful place, but, I'm just dark, I'm black on the inside, I can't enjoy anything anymore. I go to this music festival, and again, I see, I thought that by now, it's kind of past my heyday, and I thought there wouldn't be any pretty girls there particularly, but there were still pretty girls there, mostly with other guys that were, still young, and your average bros. And, you see those girls, and it's just, it's kind of, for me, it's just a sad reminder going to a music festival, seeing these musicians who have achieved the musicianship that I've never achieved, and, seeing guys with girls who I find attractive that I'm too old to really approach and expect to be able to, be taken seriously. Too old and out of shape, because I am over 300 pounds now. And, I guess it's sad, 35, only 5 years till I'm a 40-year-old virgin. I fully expect that'll be the case, because there's just no prospects. And, and it's not so much that I mind that particularly, but I guess I just mind that, it's the virginity combined with a complete lack of self-worth, a complete inability to do anything that I could consider something that would make myself proud. I don't even have a concept of something that I could do that would make myself proud, I think, the only thing I could probably do that would make myself proud at this point is be a part of a revolution, and I'm not the type who would start a revolution particularly. I think I would join, maybe, if one started happening, I might join, and then I'd probably die shortly after it was accomplished, but, I don't know, I guess a lot of it's a chip on my shoulder, I feel like it was, at least partially the media's fault for making me the outcast that I became. I didn't want to wear the popular fashions, and didn't want to listen to the popular music, and, I was always trying to be sort of a nonconformist, and in doing so, you separate yourself from a lot of potential relationship opportunities. You make yourself an outsider, and people see you as an outsider, and you don't get you don't get the chances with women that mainstream type of folks do. You know, most women don't like outsiders because outsiders tend to be poor more often, I think. And that's a tough life. So yeah, it's tough. I go out with people and I have to pretend like I'm having a good time, sort of pretend like everything's okay, and I do my best to enjoy little things, but all I could think inside was I blew it. I've blown my chances. Those days are gone. I'm approaching middle age, and I've got no prospects for a loving relationship, and I've got no prospects for a fulfilling career. And all that's left for me is watching myself wither and die while I try to make ends meet. That's what my future's going to be. And the worst thing about it is I'm too afraid to commit suicide. And today, my dad tells me, well, you better decide what you're going to do with your time. You only get so much time. Like a reminder that not only are things going terribly, but my days are numbered. And at this point, on some level, on the inside, I'm happy my days are numbered, because to deal with this constant pain of existence, with no self-worth, um, no love, too old, at an age where I'm too old to, really be good at anything, And nothing I start learning now will be something that I can achieve professional skill on within the next, it'll probably take me, 10 years to develop professional skill in anything. And that includes music. I've done so little in music to this point that it would probably take me another 10 years of serious study, as opposed to half-ass study that I've been putting in to achieve the professional musician status of the guys on the stage today. And, by then, if I did manage to get it, I'd be 45, and all the women that I'd be interested in would be too young for me. Because, like I said, I wanted a woman that would make guys jealous, and not just older guys. I wanted a woman that would make all guys jealous, Because I need an ego boost somehow. And it's not going to happen. I'm going to be the low man on the totem pole forever. I'm going to be the beta male wolf or monkey or whatever you see in these nature shows that gets outcast from the group and hangs around the fringes of the outside, hoping that maybe, one of the alpha females will get bored or take a break from the alpha male and decide, oh, what the hell, I'll just screw this beta over here, And, I think there's even less chance of that happening in the human world than there is in the ape world. And I wish I could appreciate the little things, I wish I could appreciate the sunset and the beautiful weather and the beautiful music and, living in the forest and living a first world life and having water and having food and having family, but it's just all I can see. I've become blinded. The only thing I see is myself getting older. All I can see is the people I know and love dying, and like animals dying. Having to figure out how to live like an adult, because I basically live like a teenager. At 35 years old, feeling stunted, feeling like everybody's passed me up long ago. I'm sure there's a lot of you there with me. It's just a depressing existence, and that nothing feels worth doing. I feel like my time has passed. If I was going to get my shit together, I would have been back in my 20s, but now it's like the world has forgotten about you. 35. You don't really matter anymore. You're just taking up space, and maybe you'll meet some people and you can make friends, but I don't know. It doesn't feel like anything special is going to happen for me. There's been no magic in my life. There's been no excitement. And I fully expect to die old and alone. And I don't want to take antidepressants either, because I don't want to have any of these crazy side effects where I go on a murderous rampage, or it's kind of admitting defeat, just taking the antidepressants, because it sort of says, hey, you effed up your life so bad that you needed to take antidepressants. Because really, I don't believe in depression as a biological symptom. I think that depression comes from having a lot of bad experiences, especially when you're in your formative years, grade school. And I'm broken. Grade school broke me forever, and I'm going to remain broken. And even if I could find a woman who was attractive, who was interested in me, chances are she'll be broken too. And then you got to deal with each other's emotions. And even if I managed to, find someone who was attractive and slept with them, chances are I would just be a wreck. I'd be one of those people who cries after the first time they have sex, because it'll all just come rolling onto me, the emotion of never being with anyone, and the emotion of wasting all the years of opportunity I had, and the emotion of being pathetic, for never having done something that so many others have done, and having wasted a lot of years, wasting a lot of opportunities. I'm just going to be an emotional wreck if it ever happens, and it's just, I know it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a terrible experience for me and the person I'm with, and any chance I would have had at a fulfilling relationship will probably be dead as soon as I start bawling my eyes out. So, and I don't want to work with. Don't even talk to me about these sex therapists. I watched a program about that. Most of these sex therapist people are like in their 50s and 60s, and they're not particularly attractive. And there's certainly nobody. And not only that, but the whole thing seems very weird. It doesn't seem like most of the people that go to these therapists don't seem to particularly, become normal afterwards. It's just like, oh well, we got the sex out of the way with the sex therapist who I paid to do this with. It's sort of like a weirder, less attractive version of prostitution. And it does not feel like it's for me. So I don't know. I really just want to die at this point. It's gonna get harder. It's only gonna get more and more depressing and sad the older I get. And nothing feels like it's worth doing anymore. Musicianship doesn't matter. Who cares about a fucking 45-year-old musician? I mean, I hate to insult people who have put a lot of time into their music and, are good at their age, but, the truth of the matter is, the value of musicians drops dramatically every year past, 30, I'd say, if you're not already famous, that is. I mean, if you're famous, then you can retain your value as a legend, but if you're not famous, people don't really care about your musicianship as you get older, unless you're playing some nice background dinner music for them or something like that. But as a sex symbol, your chances to become a sex symbol are over by the time you've reached my age. And I don't mean a sex symbol like in the broad sense. I mean just as an amateur musician, because even amateur musicians have sex symbol status. But if you're my age, chances are not good that can continue. So I don't know. It's tough. This is just. I guess I don't know why I'm making this video. Maybe seeing if there's any other people out there again. Maybe it just makes me feel better. I don't know. I don't know if I'll feel any better after this, but life just is really hard, and I don't know how I'm gonna. I don't know. Sometimes I wish every time I fly somewhere to see somebody that on the way back or the way there, the plane will just crash, and that'll be that. It hasn't happened yet, but I am going to the East Coast in August, so maybe that'll be it. Hopefully on the way back. I don't really want to die. I'm very afraid of death, and that makes everything so much worse, because if I wasn't so afraid of death, I probably would have killed myself already, but now I've just sort of condemned this life of what could have been, and It's just, enough to make me miserable forever. That was a fun one, wasn't it? All right, that's the end.